Good afternoon, fellow yogis and yoginis. Unlike previous times, today we have 3 questions in English. And here is the first one. Dear Venerable Bhante, I continued with my walking meditation yesterday, that evening, and would like to share my experience. I started with a faster pace and soon walking settled down to a very graceful pace. As I entered this space, I started noticing my heel touches the ground, then the middle, then the toes. These detailed information swapped between the feet, so there was no time for mind to wander away. This action reminded me of the action of a blotting paper pad during the ink pen era. I was in total peace of this action, and I thought I would continue forever. Time to time, I did jump in thought patterns as this sensation of walking, as this sensation of feeling feet became monotonous, as you mentioned. Soon I could get back to feeling the feet. Then I started realizing the force was transmitting from left foot to left knee and right foot to the right hip. At this point in time, I realized I was enjoying this whole scenario and thought I could do this the whole day. Then I felt I was enjoying this moment. Then I thought enjoying this noble action itself is an impurity. Then signing the impermanence, my legs started hurting and I was losing my balance. So I retreated to sitting. Any comments of my experience and suggestions for improvements are much appreciated. May the bliss of the Triple Gem be with you.
These are the signs of progress, whereby when and where you go plunging into the object, that is to see more and more details of the object, the stream of consciousness becomes pure and pure. So more you go deeper, there won't be any distraction, there won't be any kind of likings and dislikings to the external object. You're completely secured. The symptom is or sign is that you can see more details, and that also changing from shapes to the modes. You can see the shape of your heel, the leg, toes, and then how the pressure is transferring, sometimes from the ankle to the knee to the hip, and how it is transmitting takes place. So it is very difficult to predict what is the way the mindfulness is taking. Whatever may be more details indicates my stream of consciousness is very secure, not under the influence of any defilements. So promote it as much as possible. Ultimately, everything, what you call walking, appear like a flux, a kind of a continuum. It is happening, mind is face to face with it. And when and where the observing mind and observed object become closer and closer, there's a kind of a electromagnetic field you get attracted into, just like magnetizing. So once that is happened, you're utterly secured from the external stimuli, and instead you can see the object and the observing mind are moving in the same vibration or same RPM, so there's no effort necessary. Ultimately they hug each other, they merge each other. So till that, of course, you have something to do, and it is also don't do immature, when and where time permits, just give a gentle push. And ultimately, till they come together, as far as they come to the same electromagnetic field, you have a duty. Once you come there, your duty is not to do something. Just let it happen. And then be a neutral observer. And you can see the nature. You can see the law of the nature. Cause and effect, everything is happening. So this is a very encouraging stage. Promote it, knowing not to promote to the ultimatum, just push it into that field, push it into that electromagnetic field, and then you must know how to put into the neutral or into the clutch. Okay.
I believe from the handwriting it is from the same person. Dear Venerable Bhante, I have some simple questions with regards to the walking meditation, if you don't mind, for the benefit of all of us. Question number one. When walking, hands by the side without moving, is it okay? If not, why? Number two, why is it has to be a straight line, not a circle or a square? Number three, what is the significance of having a 30-step length? Number four, there was a question yesterday with regard to the morning chores. With those activities, with a percentage of mindfulness, would it replace a session of walking meditation? Or else, one still would have to do a 50-50 walking sitting session at home even after the said activities. May you would be able to continue with this service. May the bless of the Triple Gems.
The early three questions, they are basically pertaining to a newcomer. So the newcomer must take care. Your attention must be to the lower part of your body to see the movements of the leg. So your moving hands must not be a distraction. So in order to make it confirm, you are asked to keep the hand tight in front or behind. Even if it is moving, no problem. But if, as far as you know, it is to give the attention, conscious attention to the legs. Then hands are not much of a important thing. The other thing is straight path is mind must be completely free. If it is curvy, if it is blocked and all the kind of thing, a lot of calculations are going on in the mind. So for the beginner, they give the as much as possible laboratory situation. So it is a straight path and straight, flat. And the other one is 30 step. It is not a hard and fast rule. It says it must not be less than 30. And if it is increasing, it may be up to 60 steps, okay. But under such certain circumstances, for example, if you are doing within your household or in the room, sometimes maybe less than 20, but you improvise it. But when you are making a standard walking path in the monasteries like that, we take 45 feet, that means 30 steps, that is standard. But longer the better. So therefore, it is, if you are doing in a lawn, it must not be limited to the 30. Do it. And why it is not a circle, why it is not a square? Because when you go to the other end, the turning on the same point is also an exercise. It's a kind of a turbulence, it's a kind of a distraction. So it is later, it will become a homework like. the mindfulness that you earn through in the pace area will be little disturbed and challenged at the turning, and that also will become a training. So therefore you use the same path, but they are the preliminaries, nothing to take so serious. So you have to improvise according to the circumstances. And what was the last one?
The last one says, or else one still
compensating your day-to-day work with the mind, the walking. And that is also, if you are a beginner, you may find difficult. But once you develop certain amount of understand the definition of mindfulness, whether you are exerting to the day-to-day activities or walking, no problem. But if you are a beginner, best thing is to walking for the sake of walking without mixing up with the day-to-day chorus. If it is you do day-to-day activities, recognize them as day-to-day activities, and once you develop certain amount of familiarity with mindfulness, walking and day-to-day, then you can do adjustments. You can do compensating each other.
And here is the last question. Venerable Sir, my primary object during sitting meditation is the breath. I experience a gross sensation of air going up at the tip of the nose during in-breath and going down during the out-breath. When the breath becomes subtle, I experience rapture in the body. This intensifies with more subtle breath, both in and out, and becomes very strong when the breath is almost not discernible. After a short time, I experience a very subtle breath again, and then rapture followed by strong rapture when the breath is not felt. This repeats, and sometimes the breath is very subtle and felt as cold during the in-breath and hot with the out-breath. Experiencing subtle breath and rapture goes on for some time until pain is experienced. When rapture ceases, but the pain is very strong, rapture arises again for a short time. The mind is very agitated and based and bored at this time. I have not experienced the calm state you talked about when the breath is more or less disappears. Bhante, please advise how I need to progress. May your aspirations be fulfilled in this very life. Theruvan Saranai.
The presentation is nice, good. It explains the gross breath and then the subtle breath and the unperceivable subtlest. And when it happens, how do you feel like? So these are very encouraging, because this is from the technical jargon, from the meditative jargon, changing mind from the materiality to subtle materiality. Or materiality, no materiality. So you understand when and where you observe something, the mind is zoom in and zoom out. So just like a microscope, if you focus, it is deep go in, and you can see atoms, particles, tiny particles. When you zoom in, you see the grossness. So when that is happening, hardly you can understand whether it is the same object that you are penetrating through and pulling back, but that is what it happens. So our mind still, even though you are handling the same object, sometimes you're happy with subtlety, so that means you are hating the gross. Whenever you are happy with the gross, when the subtlety appear like boredom, subtlety appear like uncertain, unknown. So now mind is training. And for that training, it gives different episodes where this subtle particle like experience or gross breath or middle breath. So let the mind to season it, familiarize it, acclimatize it, and later you may find the rapture you find as well as this other feelings will be calmed down when you more and more familiar. One day you must train it up to a certain level. One day you must feel the gross feeling as a gross breath, as a subtle breath with the equipoised mind. These are nothing but two facets of the same object. So till that, please continue. The beginner usually encourage to see from gross to subtle, subtle to the subtlest. But at the end of the story, you must familiarize it up to a certain level so that subtle as well as gross must be treated equally. So don't misunderstand it. Make it clear, these are just instructions for the beginners. You encourage gross to the subtlety. But the end, you again change your mind or your strategy. You must develop equipoise mind to the subtle and the gross equal. That is the way you can remove the emotional part. You can remove the frustration part. So at the beginning you forget about and just familiarize 3 stages: gross, subtle and subtlety. Subtlest.